Have you ever experienced depression or anxiety?
Yes, yes. Truth be told, I'm in a little bit of that now.
Yes, I have.
Yes, I have.
I've struggled with both. I've struggled with those things and addiction.
Yes, I do. For me, it was when Joe passed away. So I lost my husband to a sudden heart attack almost 6 years ago. And I was devastated and did go into depression. The trauma of him dying in my presence was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about, but it was the darkest time of my life, but also the time that I was the closest to the Lord.
I 1000% have experienced anxiety, especially.
Yeah, I think the root of it just comes with me wanting to be in control of everything.
I've struggled with depression probably since I was in middle school. I know there's all these stigmas about hey, did you not, maybe you don't have enough faith, maybe you weren't praying enough. There's so many things you don't need counseling. Maybe if you just pray more, then everything will be fine, it'll go away.
I lost my dad in 2021 to COVID. After he passed, it was really, really, really difficult to navigate through. It wasn't a depression where it was just sadness. I was sad about it, of course, but it wasn't really prevalent over my life. It was more of a numbness. I want to say for 3.5 years, I was numb to almost everything. I was numb to friendships. I was numb to conversations. I was numb to my relationship with God.
Going into college, I was extremely depressed and battling anxiety. And coming back here 3 years later, I felt really alone because I came back during COVID and I had realized that I had been using the anxiety as a crutch so that way I could get out of situations that were uncomfortable for me.
There was a period in my life where I was not questioning the goodness of God or the sovereignty of God, but the why of God in my son's autism and the impact that was having on myself, on my marriage, and with my family.
Left a job that I was a part of for about 20 years, and the Lord told me to walk away. And it was hard to trust him in that, are you sure? And the Lord's I need you to be obedient. There was a lot of things that have changed in my life because of it, but it has opened up this new vulnerability of loneliness.
My anxiety started out as a small child. It was pretty circumstantial. My parents separated at an early age. They divorced when I was 5. And so I started having panic attacks when I was in first grade and didn't know what to call them, didn't know what it was. And then when I got into the working world in corporate America, there were flare-ups and seasons. And so I would say, seasonal anxiety that can result in panic attacks.
I get very caught up in my own thoughts, very caught up in my own fears and my own overthinking.
I have this set of expectations and I want life to be a certain way. Pretty much every day I have to wake up and choose to trust God, you know what's best.
It's definitely a hard struggle. I think it's one in the church that we often tell people that if they're struggling with those things, they don't have enough faith. And I think that that's not always true. God recognizes emotions and difficulties, and He is the source of healing for those things, along with lots of other resources that we can find, like counseling or a therapist or a good friend, His Word, all kinds of things.
Being a believer and struggling with that has helped me out a lot in seeing God's faithfulness and walking me through situations. He promises, in the darkest valleys, that He will be there with us to go walk through it. I don't know necessarily if it's one of those things I'll feel ever free from, but I know who I go to in those moments and who has my back.
I think when I started walking with Jesus in a more life-giving way, depression and the anxiety became tolerable. It became something that I manage. Now, I have a lot of practices that I put in my life so that the anxiety and the depression and the tendencies that I had are kept at bay. I don't feel those like a cloud looming over me anymore.
There's still moments that make me anxious, but I don't walk around anxious every day the way that I did before.
I have asked the Lord, begged Him, please remove this, take this away. But what He's taught me is that I'm in a fallen body. And so that can coexist with a really strong faith. Those things are not mutually exclusive, and so sometimes we think that anxiety and your faith, that's a indicator of a weakness in your faith. And I would say actually sometimes he uses that very thing to cause us to cling more heartily to him.
A lot of times I have to be brought back to, okay, number one, God is in control. Number two, I'm on this earth walking his plan out for my life. And number three, when I'm not supposed to be here anymore, the Lord will take me. And so those fears that I'm having, those anxieties I'm having, are they eternal? No. I know that God's plan is.
I think for me, learning that it's okay to ask for help.
The Lord is showing me that the difference between that isolation that I was feeling is that his presence is there, and it creates this solitude, this beautiful moment of peace, of joy, of completeness, of wholeness, and that he is refining me.
As guys, we tend to roll up our sleeves, pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps and go fix the problem. What we need to realize is that we can't do that. We're not built for that, and we don't have the ability to do that. We have to just surrender that to the Lord. And it took me a number of years that once I got to a point of total surrender and said, Lord, this has got to be on you because it's bigger than me, I experienced a profound peace I'd never experienced before.
I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. But God he brought a peace to me. The feeling of being numb was what God took me out of, and I feel joy again. I feel life again.
So yeah, I've experienced it, but he's good. He's so good. God is so good.
When he comes back, there will be no more anxiety, no more depression, no more tears, no more disease, no more death. But until then, we just walk faithfully.